Today I'm going to do a topic, A Scope of Orientalism by Edward Said. I think many of them come across him and talk about his work and majorly contribution to the Eastern and Western countries. And here, when you talk about in this lecture, where I am majorly cover all the East, what is mean by Orient, what is mean by Occident, and also talks about the Orientalism and the prominent about the binary division. And when you talk about the author Edward Said, he was born in Palestine and he passed away in United States. That's why we can understand he was very well aware of both the countries, both the Eastern and Western countries. In the further slide, we can discuss about further about Eastern and Western images and ideas. And also he was a professor of literature at Columbia University, and he also one of the founder of the post-colonial studies. And I included some of his notable works that are The Question of Palestine and Cultural Imperialism, two are most important work that I here I referred. And when I talk about this book, in this book Orientalism was written in 1978, and it majorly talks about, in this book we get an idea that how the West developed the image of the East during the colonial period, and of course it was continuing in the post-colonial period also. And in the further, the scope of Orientalism divide into three chapters. The scope of Orientalism, this is a chapter I cover here, and Orientalism structure and restructure, Orientalism now. And further, in this topic, the scope of Orientalism is developed into four parts, that are knowing the Orient, imaginary geography and its representation, project, and crisis. Who are the Orient? In this map, you can find that the people of the Orient who live in the place of Asia, North Africa, and Middle East countries. In this slide, you can see the Orientalism lead to development of the post-colonial theory. Of course, it leads to development of the post-colonial theory, but the post-colonial theory is a very vast theory, and numerous critics and theorists who come after the Edward Said and gives the various concepts to develop this theory. But actually, it's not a synonym of post-colonial theory. And Edward Said was a Palestinian American. Here we can see that he was a Palestinian American because he was born in Palestine and get education in Egypt, and he most of his life and lived in America. That's why we can understand he was very well aware of both the countries and Eastern and Western countries. So he put all his experience together and write this book Orientalism in 1978. And Orientalism is both not a synonym of post-colonialism. It means that it's not a synonym of post-colonial theory, because post-colonial theory is a vast theory. So it's not a synonym of post-colonialism. In next, the Orientalism is considered as a stepping stone of post-colonial theory, and Orientalism focus on West and East and Occident and Orient. This means that Orientalism focus on West as a Occident and East as a Orient. Here we can see that the Orientalism focus on West as a Occident and East as a Orient. West created the binary division. The binary division, it's also important aspect of this book Orientalism. It talks about the binary division is created by the West during the colonial period, and it was continued in the post-colonial period also. And the West created such kind of the binary division. It means unequal division. It's such a huge gap between the Eastern and Western countries, and also the binary division gave right to the West to rule over the entire East. And they portrayed East as a uncivilized and undeveloped and not even compare with the human. They compare with the cannibalism. You can take the Shakespeare Tempest, there could be a cannibalism, and Joseph Conrad Art of Darkness, there could be a cannibalism. The cannibalism is portrayed as no feelings and emotion to the other human being. They come and eat the fellow humans. This kind of the attitude among they portrayed them as a East as a cannibalism among the other Europeans. The East has create such kind of the imaginary ideas among the all the European people. And and the binary division gave right to the West to rule over the East. So this kind of the unequal division is it's gave right to the Western people to rule over the entire Eastern countries. Orient means east and Occident is west. It means that Orient, other, and east. It's called as a white man's burden because they are uncivilized and underdeveloped, and they not even compare with the human being. So they call this a white man's burden because it's a duty of the white man to make them into human and to civilize them and to get educate them. They called as a white man's burden. Orient account was not based on the fact but on the fantasy. For example, you can take the creating character like cannibalism is not at all real, and nobody will agree that all the people in the eastern areas they are not to be a cannibal, and no one will agree with that. And you can see that East has created such kind of the fantasy. They created such kind of the fantastic story to make themselves as a pure, and East is absolutely a rubbish. And also they are being black and brown. It's not at all bad, but they think that is more peculiar to them. And this kind of the database was uh, created by the West. This kind of the fantastic imagination created by the West about the Eastern people. And also these are the major thing that I cover up here. And so the binary division is based on not based on the fact but on the fantasy is also the important aspect in this book, Orientalism.